Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. This is late because I've decided that I can't record on Mondays now because it's too dark. So I work from home on Tuesdays this semester, so it's a lot easier for me to record on Tuesdays because I'm just home. Instead of having to commute, I can really just do it at any time of day that works for me. So yeah, here we are. It's Tuesday. I don't know if I will make it. This will make it up on Tuesday, but it's like Tuesday or Wednesday when you see this. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. It's still weirdly warm here. It's not that warm, but it's hitting 70, which is what is that in Celsius? 21 degrees Celsius. Most days, which is weird, not normal, and definitely, something to raise my eyebrows at. But whatever, I am able to run without being really, really cold most of the time, which is probably good for my lungs, before a race. It did occur to me once, last week, it was really cold when I went out in the morning for a run, and I was a little bit worried that I would get some, issues with breathing in really cold air and running fast. So that didn't happen, but yeah, it did occur to me that was maybe an issue. So yeah, it's race week, and so my brain is kind of every possible disaster scenario is going through my brain, and that is just how it is. And I'm actually doing okay, I think, all things considered. Knock on wood, I'm not sick. I'm a little sniffly, but I think that's just from the changing temperatures. So I am doing my best to every time a student comes to my office, I put on a mask. I don't care if they're not looking or sounding sick. I want the mask on because I am just really sensitive about germs right now. I really don't want to get sick before Sunday. My birthday is on Thursday, so I am having my birthday celebration with my friends in Baltimore tomorrow, Wednesday, and I'm if anyone comes and gets me sick, that will be the absolute worst timing, because it'll hit me on Friday, Saturday, and then I will be sick on Sunday for the marathon. So I'm okay, most of this party will be outdoors in the backyard. We will be having a bonfire. Please don't come near me if you're sniffly. But I think it's gonna be okay. Jordan, my roommate, and I were driving around last night going to Taco Bell and H Mart. Actually, we didn't go H Mart, we went to Lotte. We just went out there to go get some specialty grocery items that we needed. And I was talking about this, and she was I think you're gonna be okay. So sometimes you just need somebody to be chill, please. But on the other hand, my taper, which is the part of marathon training where you taper down before your race, has led me to have a lot more time to, knit. Because, you cut down mileage. I peaked a few weeks ago at 46 miles in a week, and now I'm down to 25. And if you average a mile being 10-ish minutes, that's not really that much more time in the week, but it feels to me like more time because I have 40 more minutes on a lot of mornings than I used to, because during peak I was going out for 6 to 8 miles on my Monday and Thursday runs, and 10 on my Tuesday interval runs, and 5 on Wednesdays, and now I'm kind of at 3 to 4 miles on all those main days, and now I'm more at 7 on Tuesdays. So it does make a difference in the mornings. I have more time to knit. And I'm trying to spend more time resting in the evenings and not making as many plans. So I also have been able to do that at in the evenings. Just generally spend more time knitting. So that's good. But like I said, it's led me to throw most of my emotional energy into knitting. And that has been productive. So I will show you. I have a lot of things to show you as a result. So last week, I published my cozy. This is the original Starry Cup cozy. I don't know what it's called on Ravelry, but I published this pattern. You can look up there for the link. And it's a cup cozy pattern. It goes around a 16 ounce, like the Starbucks red cups, but I didn't get a Starbucks red cup because I didn't know that they only had them for one day. And usually Nitin and I go on red cup day, but I sent Starbucks emails to spam because I was getting too many. I don't know if he did that too, but we stopped getting emails from Starbucks and we didn't know it was red cup day and we didn't go. And then we went on Saturday after run club and they were like, yeah, we only had those for one day. And we were like, what? He might have known that. I didn't know that. But anyway, Starry Cozy. So I made a couple more samples of this one last week. I made this one, this teal and pink one. So a few weeks ago, it was more like 6 weeks ago, it was maybe 2 months ago, I showed this sweater quantity of yarn that I got in the Bichet Bouche Le Petit Lamb's Wool, this kind of like light turquoise, and I said in multiple places, definitely here and on the Woolly Thistle channel, when I was like in a shopcast, I was like, oh, I want to make like a Christmas, sweater. Like I want to make, or a vanilla sweater in this color. And I kind of like the idea of like wearing it around Christmas and having this kind of like, or even just in the winter, like a bright winter color sweater, vanilla sweater. I love this. And you can get Le Petit Lamb's Wool from Bichet Bouche at the Woolly Thistle. So that's why I was talking about it there and here. Links are all in the show notes if you're looking for them. So thinking about that, I think in that same vein, I was inspired to do like a vintage Christmas colors, I think, kind of. I don't know if vintage is the right word, but this does feel to me like a bit 1980s in a good way. Obviously, I'm not trying to make that sound derogatory, but there's very little difference actually between these two teals. This top one is like that's Jameson Spindrift in Mermaid, and then the second one down, which is more heathered, you can kind of see the difference, is J&S in color 65, I think. The bright one is J&S, it's 70 something. I don't know if it's 71 or 76, or maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. It's the bright turquoise color. This lighter blue is actually a Rama Lamelgarn color that I had in my stash. And then the pink is Jameson Spindrift in Plum. So those are the colors of this one that I just couldn't resist. I love teal and I just thought this was really fun. So I made this one. And then I made another one. I decided to start slightly branching out from white as the background color, and I chose a very light gray, also Rama Lamelgarn. So this one, I really liked that Mermaid Spindrift color for this. I thought it was kind of like unexpected as the pop. And I know that that top red color and the bottom red is Cardinal Spindrift. I know that the second color is a Jamieson Smith color and it's burgundy. The third color and fourth color are Jamieson's. I know those are Spindrift, and I know one of them's Foxglove. I want to say the other one's Thistle, but I think that that's not a real color. Or maybe it's just absolutely not that color. The middle one is Mermaid Spindrift. But regardless, I just use bits and bobs, so nothing has a label. And this is just, I'm just like telling you from my memory, this is what I think it is. Anyway, I love this. And speaking of, as I was doing last week about color dominance, which color is kind of more prominent in a piece. In both of these, and all three of these, white is the dominant color. The changing colors of the background, those are the background color. I am holding those on my right. I'm holding the white or light gray here on my left, so that like white or light gray color is the thing that pops out, because that's the design. And so talking of color dominance, I was saying last week that if I knitted this guy again, keeping the colors, rather than the white, the dominant instead of the white, you would think it was a completely different pattern. I don't think that's actually true, but I think holding these next to each other. So I did make these ones. In this case, the colors are the dominant rather than the white. And I think you can tell the difference. I can tell the difference for sure, that the colors are popping out more in this one as compared to this one, where the white feels more dominant to me. Like this kind of like background design to me. That looks like it's in the background, whereas here, that looks like it's in the foreground. Yeah, so this one, what did I use here? This is just like a dark navy color. I think that was a Realm of Finalgarn. The second color down is Jameson's Spindrift in Nighthawk. This sort of bluish gray here is a Marie Wallin color. It's the blue. I don't know which one it is. I don't know what it's called. This green is a Jameson and Smith like mix color. It's like a 1280 something. It's not 1280 because that's light blue. It might be 1285 or 1284. The 128 something series. There's a bunch of those and they're all like really mixed heathered colors. And then I use that plum Jameson Spindrift for the middle again. I use that one for a lot of pops. This one, I don't know if I can remember. The top again, I think was a Jameson, or excuse me, a Rama color. This navy, like slighter lighter navy, is definitely Jameson and Smith. Couldn't tell you which one. These two colors are both Jamesons of Shetland. The two heathered blues, you can hardly even tell the difference between them. But this one I think is Pacific, and this one is like Highland Mist or Lomond, and the middle is Jameson Shetland and Paprika. This one's really hard to tell the difference between all the colors, and I think part of the reason it's hard is actually because they're in the background and not the foreground. But I have made so many of these. I do not regret this being a taper project. I think it's really fun. I'm gonna, be giving these to lots of friends for the holidays, and I think that's fun. So I'm now branching out into like some other background colors. I'll probably be doing some more in like light browns, which I think people like because some people spill coffee on theirs and then they don't want it to be stained. And so anyway, I like those a lot. I think they're fun. So make them for your friends. You can buy the pattern. It's like $4 on Ravelry. And if you want, you can just take the instructions for it and sub in any 32 by 32 colorwork square. You could even like use the chart software. I use Stitch Mastery, which you can get a free demo of. You just can't save anything if you have the free demo, but you can like screenshot or whatever. You could even like write something. I'm thinking of doing one of those for someone in my choir, like personalizing it by writing something. And if you just got a bunch of Woolly Thistle grab bags or one Woolly Thistle grab bag of Jameson and Smith, you can knit a bunch of these. You hardly even need any background color, like probably 5 grams at most. And you just need tiny little bits and bobs. You could make tons and tons and tons of these with a J&S grab bag. If you got one from the Woolly Thistle, they are available for their Black Friday. I don't know when it opens for the general public, but the Woolly Thistle, my affiliate link, the Woolly Thistle, will be up there somewhere. And so if you want to check it out, yeah, they do have they have selection boxes and they have the Jameson and Smith grab bags and, so, yeah, that's a great little project if you just want to play around with some colors that you don't know if they go together or something. This is fun because even if they don't, you can tear it out if you don't like it, but it's just a little tiny cozy and you hardly use any of each color. So it's a nice way to see if colors play well together. Like I would totally knit a piece in like a garment and something like the colorway like that. I think it's really fun. Like a vest or this is really bright, but if you were knitting something for a little kid, it might be really nice. I don't know, whatever, but I think it's fun to experiment. So yeah, I blocked this shawl finally, and then I realized when it was in the blocking water that I didn't weave in any ends. This is the Botanic shawl by Stephen West that I was working on just with some hand spun and like a Wool of the Andes Sport and Midnight Heather. It is, I can put it on. But again, the ends aren't woven in. It's a huge cozy shawl. This was like my couch project for a while because I didn't need the pattern. It was just like a easy memorized repeat. So it's massive. You can wear it like this under a coat. You could probably just wear it over your shoulders like this. I might just bring it to the office. Just have like a cozy wool shawl to wear if I get chilly at my desk. But I like it. Yeah. Thought about giving it to somebody. I don't know if I know someone who would wear it. But I like it too. So I'm cool with wearing it at my desk. Speaking of what I'm wearing, once again, I've neglected, to talk about it, but in an effort to wear old pieces and talk about them. This is my Bray cardigan, which I knitted. I actually knitted this right at the beginning of my tiny desk knitting journey, almost 4 years ago. So I knitted this between like, when did I start this? Maybe March 2021 until June-ish, I think. So I worked on this for 3 or 4 months during my time as a nanny. Especially during this time, the kids were all back in school all the time, like 5 days a week. So I had a lot more time on my hands because for a lot of that year, the oldest one, who was in 2nd grade at the time, she had real life school only every other week, so that they would only have half the class in there at a time. And she would do online school for, every other week. And the 2 little ones went to school every day, in masks. But like half the time I was doing, supervising on online school learner. And so I was knitting a lot because we would sit together in the basement and she would be on her iPad and I would be sitting there knitting, probably like with one AirPod in, listening to an audiobook or something, and to be able to like hear her if she needed anything from me. But we had a lot of breaks throughout the day. Like we would have lunch and we would go for a walk and we would go pick the younger kids up and like things like that. So once they were all in school every day, especially because the weather started getting really nice, I would just go sit outside for like hours at a time and knit. And so I got through this. And this Bray cardigan is in a book called The Art of Fair Isle Knitting by Anne Feidelson, which I don't have with me because I lent it to somebody. But it's a really good book and I will link it in the show notes. I think it might be out of print, but I got it used from like thrift books or something. And the chapter on color was really interesting to me. And the Bray cardigan, which was a fully realized pattern in that back of that book, was knitted in reds and pinks. So I use that as an opportunity to like shift it to kind of greens and a couple of pops, like this pink and like the lighter blue. But I wanted to shift the pinks and reds to a green palette, like a greenish blue palette. And I think that it came out definitely like that. This bone color here is very striking, but like I think that the colors are nice. I like it. Like it suits me. The shape is nice. It's a V-neck cardigan with full sleeves, corrugated ribbing everywhere. This is one instance where I really did finish everything with corrugated ribbing, and I did that with my Mayonnaise jacket as well. Corrugated ribbing, especially flat, is a drag. It's not as hard for me in the round, probably just because I've done more of it, but doing it flats, like around this whole button band, was a huge drag. And I didn't pick up enough stitches at the bottom. It just kind of like fudged it, but it pulls in a little bit. And the buttonholes were kind of a mess because it was the corrugated ribbing in 2 colors. So I pretty much just sewed the buttons on, managed to get it through the buttonholes, or maybe I just sewed it through the buttonholes. They don't unbutton, but I don't ever wear it open, so I don't care. And these buttons have glitter, which I really like. I got the buttons at Looped in DC, again, when I lived in DC, although I still go to Looped all the time because my church is like a 15-minute walk, 20-minute walk from Looped. I sing in the Foggy Bottom near George Washington University, and Looped is in DuPont Circle, so you just walk up New Hampshire Avenue. For like 20 minutes, you get to Looped. Great store. Not a huge online presence, but they are a great store. I don't even know if they have a website. But yeah, they're wonderful. They have an Instagram. I'll link Looped DC Instagram in the show notes if you want to check it out, because they have a lot of really nice hand-dyed yarn. But yeah, so love this sweater. And I actually did a series on knitting it, and so I won't talk too much about the construction because I actually do have a series you can go watch, again, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I guess. So really different in the sense of me talking about it. And I remember having a really hard time uploading the last video because I was using iMovie on my computer. Like I was trying to transfer files from my phone to my computer, and my computer really didn't like some of the files on iMovie, like through iCloud, and it would like slow things down. It got all weird. I don't even remember, but I did manage to upload the third video. And maybe there was supposed to be a fourth one that I couldn't upload, but I talked about constructing the body, doing the steeks, needle felting the steeks. This is when I was starting to get into needle felted steeks. And I was trying to like spread the gospel of this. I still am. I think it's a great way to do steeks if you're using woolly wool. And yeah, I used all Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight for this. And I can link my Ravelry page so that you can see which colors I used. Except this, the bone color is Jamieson's and Smith jumper weight Supreme. I think it's in 2006 because I had a cone of that at the time. And then there's this like lightish brown color here. That one is like BC Bio Shetland, I think. But the rest of them are J&S 2-ply jumper weight. So yeah, this was a fun knit. Loved the combination, and it helped me get kind of, it was like a good stepping stone for me to go from like not just choosing my own colors kind of willy-nilly without any like plan, but it was kind of like using a baseline of colors that already like, you know, the palette, and then just kind of shifting it to a completely different color palette, but kind of trying to keep some of the values the same. Like I really looked hard at the colors that they used and thought about contrast and stuff. And again, I think it works better in some motifs than others. Like this motif, I think it worked really well, just the way it got split up, but like the flowers are a little bit odd. Also, I will say I had to add like 3 or 4 more motifs at the top here in order to, because to get to the length I wanted, because if I had just knitted the ones they suggested, it would have only come up to like here. So I had to create at least 2, maybe 3 bands. So I guess it would have ended here, and it would have been a very cropped cardigan with very small armholes. So I just used my pattern books to create, or to pick new patterns that were the same height as the ones that were outlined, and also the width of the pattern went nicely and along with the other ones and stuff. So yeah, it ended up being a great project, and I'm really happy that I made it. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about the things that I've cast on or started or restarted working on. So the first thing is that I cast on the Pressed Flowers cardigan I've been talking about for ages. Finally actually bit the bullet and did it. So this is what it looks like so far, and this is gonna come off the needles, so I better be careful. Yeah, so I've done a good bit of this actually in the past few days. I finished the ribbed band on like Saturday, and then so Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday I've knitted on the flowers. And this is one of those things where I'm like, I want to really like, I don't want to just like let things linger, especially something like this. I really like this. I want to feel like I'm doing something and getting something done. So I'm doing a streak calendar, streak tracking. So I'm using my whiteboard, and I'm trying to knit 10 rows a day, 12 today, because it's a 32 row chart. So I did 10, 10, and 12 in the last 3 days. Really neatly went into 2 repeats. I'm hoping not to run out of yarn for the blue. So I have these like 4 skeins of this intense iris color from Yellow Dog Farm in Vermont, which is half mohair, half, well, 60% mohair, 40% merino. It's 4 ounces. It says it's 230 yards. I don't know if it's actually 230 yards. But it is really nice yarn. I got it at my local yarn shop in Vermont at Must Love Yarn. And I have 4 of them. And so far I have used, like, this is how much I have left of the first one, but the cake was not that large to begin with. And I have managed, I didn't weigh it or anything, I probably should have, but I've managed this much, and this whole band was just the dark blue. So I think I probably used a lot of it just in there. And this is mosaic, so it's growing a little slowly, but it's not growing incredibly slowly. So I think if I can get through like 7 or 8 inches total of the body before I get to by the time I get to the end of this ball, I think I will be totally fine, because then I'll be able to get through the rest of the body, and probably also the button band, which I probably won't make very wide, with just 3 skeins and then have 1 whole skein left over for the sleeves. I may not be able to knit full length sleeves, but I don't really care. The person that inspired me to knit this was Caitlin from the Woolly Thistle, and hers has 3/4 length sleeves and it looks phenomenal. So I will just, whatever I have left in terms of the blue, when I get to the sleeves, I will make sure I do that button band first, because you do not want to run out and not have any for the button band, because then you have to do something else for the button band and you can't get more, and it's like terrible. Yeah, and then I'll just divide in half whatever I have left for the sleeves and knit them as long as I can. So yeah, that's fine. I'm enjoying it a lot. I really like this pattern. And there's so many pressed flowers options. You could, if you prefer to knit in the round, they have like a hat, and there's a pullover that's mostly, if not all, knitted in the round. And then in the flat, there's like the cardigan, the shawl. Oh, there's also socks. Those would be in the round. They're really pretty. I think there might be more things. I'm not sure. Maybe she has mittens. I don't know. There's a lot of pressed flowers things. So I'll link the pattern for the pressed flowers cardigan, and then you can like click on it and click on the designer's name. Amy Christophers is the designer. She lives in Vermont. And you can see all the other pressed flowers. Yeah. So this is the hand spun I'm using, wound into a cake. Got another hand spun skein in here. I will be bringing this home with me for Thanksgiving, so I plan to have a lot of knitting time next week because I will be probably needing to rest a lot after running a marathon. God willing. I keep like trying to, I'm like, I don't want to jinx myself. It's like, you're gonna be fine. You've been training for this for 4 months. I'm gonna like, just calm down. But yeah, so going back to the streak challenge, this is something that I started doing. I mean, it's a coaching technique I use with students who are struggling with chemistry or math or biology, whatever. I ask them to pick a task that, you know, we talk about what would help them succeed. So if they're having trouble with chemistry, it's usually, or math really, it's usually they just need to do more practice problems. But the key to success in almost anything is consistency. And I'm a huge advocate for consistency. This is one of the reasons I decided to start running marathons, was because I thought, you know, if I can prove to my students that consistency works, then, or if I can prove to myself that consistency works, it will make me a better coach, regardless of whether my students are running or trying to study for chemistry. So it does work. And a streak challenge is very motivating because people tend to want to keep up their streak without even having any other kind of reward. So I do recommend that if you want to like get a project done, and even if you love knitting it, like I find that I love knitting the pressed flowers, but I tend to let projects linger. And so something that really helps me is to just like, there's this little motivating like chip in my brain that turns on when I start tracking my progress. So track your progress. If you're trying to get something done and you tend to be somebody who has a lot of whips and things are languishing, and lingering. That was a mashup of 2 words. You know, I think the streak challenge is good. The one thing I'm going to say about this, because students and I have a lot of conversations about this, is that it really helps to have one specific priority at a time. So if you have like 10 whips and you're like, I want to finish all of them, that's a great goal, but you need to prioritize like one at a time. So even if you have time to work on multiple projects a day, that's great. Just decide like one of them is the top priority and that's the first one that gets done. And you could have an order of priority, like this is the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and then like give yourself an amount of time, like an hour per whip or something, or half an hour, however long you want to spend per day on each one, and, you know, go through however many you get through per day, and then maybe start over the next day. So you start again with the top priority. When the top priority one is done, the second one moves into its place. You could try that. That's a good way to get through a lot of stuff. So yeah, right now the pressed flowers is my top priority, but having a lot of time at home recently, I do knit, like I knit a certain number of rounds on or rows on it per day, 10, or today I did 12. So I have an end goal. And that does help. I think there's another way to look at things that I often talk about with students, which is input versus output. And so some students find that they really feel like they need to get through like a full set of practice problems or something in one sitting, when in reality it's going to take them like 3 hours, and that's really not that productive. And if they think more about input, like I'm going to spend 30 minutes working on this, take a 5-minute break, and then spend another 30 minutes working on it, and then I'm done. That helps, give them a really solid endpoint that they can see. Generally, it helps them get through more problems or whatever they're doing. Flashcards, making flashcards, again, whatever they're doing, if they give themselves a time limit instead, and like an input of like, this is how much time I'm going to give to this. So I think that is another helpful thing. If you're struggling to get something done, just say like, I'm going to give this an hour every day. Eventually it's going to get done if you give yourself an hour every day. And you are going to notice that when you wake up in the morning, it's like the first thing you want to do. You're like, I got to get that done. And I do. I work on pressed flowers every morning. I don't always have an hour to work on it, which is about how long it takes me to do 10 to 12 rows. So I do like 5 or 6 rows in the morning usually, go to work or go for a run, come back, go to work. And then at the end of the day, I do like another half an hour and finish whatever my set of rows is for that day. And that's also nice, because then I'm like, oh, I want to finish it. And it's motivating. I think about it. I don't think like exclusively about that all day, but I think like I've started it. I'm halfway through. I really want to finish it. And I write down how many rows I've done on my board, on my little calendar. So it helps. I definitely recommend doing that. So my second thing is that I have blocked the body of my neon green sweater, Viola sweater by Isabel Kramer. I'm knitting this in Archie from 2023. So the Archie that I spun and dyed this past summer. This is a great little sweater. It has a nice, cute little lace detail here. I have not done the neckline, as you can probably tell. And then it has that lace detail going down the sleeves. So you can see that now this has been blocked. First of all, the lace looks really nice, but also the sweater is softer, and I think the stitches are more even. The hand spun is a little uneven. I mean, it's hand spun, and I processed it myself. So that's definitely like, for me, that feels like a big accomplishment. This is the back. So I don't really care if it's a little uneven, because if from a distance, you definitely can't tell. The pooling is nice. I did some helical knitting, and I don't think that was actually necessary for the second half, just because all the skeins were in the water together and they're all a little bit variegated. Oops, that's a stitch marker that's come off the other sleeve that I started, evidently. Yup. Okay, I probably need stitch stoppers on these. Instead, I'm going to just, oh, did that stitch get dropped? Yes, it did. Awesome. Okay, well now I have to pick up this drop stitch too. Okay, this is fine. Everything is fine. You know the meme of the dog, like the illustration of the dog sitting in the burning house that says everything is fine? That's how I feel right now this whole week. The dog sitting in the burning house being like, yep, everything's fine. Totally fine. Totally normal. I'm not going crazy at all. I had a case of the taper zoomies on Thursday night at choir last week. And I didn't really realize what was happening to me until I was talking to some of my choir mates, and I just realized how fast I was talking, and I was like, oh, that's taper talking right there. And my friend Mike laughed because his wife is a marathon runner, and she's run many marathons. She's actually been her name's Allison. They're the people who had the baby that I knit the little pink sweater for. I got a picture of her, and it was so cute. I would share it with you, but it's not my baby, and I don't want to put a baby on the internet. So, I think a lot of people like to protect their baby's privacy, so I don't like to just share willy-nilly photos of babies. But it is really cute. Anyway, Mike's wife, Allison, has run many marathons. She's a very passionate runner. And she said to me, she asked me, said, how was your 20 miler? And I said, oh, it was good. I think it was great. I did it on the Rock Creek Trail. She said, I've done so many long runs there. It's such a nice place to do a long run. We just chatted briefly about that. And then she said, I said, I'm a little nervous about taper. And she looked at me and she was like, dude, you just ran 20 miles. You're not going to lose any fitness in the next few weeks. You could literally run 0 miles between now and the marathon and you'd be totally fine. I was like, that's helpful, but I would go crazy. But she was kind of meant like if I got sick or something, because I was saying I was worried about that. But anyway, back to the sweater. And now that I've finished picking up those stitches, I started this first sleeve last night since it was dry. You can sort of see the line where I switched over, but I think that's more like this was all puffy. These stitches were all puffy. I think once it's blocked again, it won't be as obvious. I don't think it's color as much as texture, the change here. So like if I do that, you can't really see a stripe. I can tell that this is the unblocked part because the stitches aren't quite as relaxed. So you could definitely tell on the lace if you looked up close, the lace that's been blocked is more relaxed. So the stitch pattern to memorize is really easy on the sleeve, and it's a nice way. The stitch pattern it's just 6 rounds of lace, and so it'll be really easy to keep track of how long the sleeves are, so I can make the sleeves match and do the decreases in the same places, which is great. But yeah, I actually didn't work on this for very long last night. Just before I went to bed, I thought I would knit a little bit on this, thinking nice thing to bring with me when I go home, because it's not fully vanilla, but it's fully memorized, so that's good. And I'll knit a neckline at the end, I guess. Maybe I'll knit the neckline in between the sleeves if I feel like I need something else. Sometimes I don't like to save the necklines for the end because I dread them, because I worry that they'll be really like messy, although I haven't knitted a messy neckline in a really long time, so here's hoping. But anytime the neckline involves picking up stitches, and there's been a lot of like increases along here, which there was on this sweater, which again is Fiola by Isabel Kramer, link in the description box if you want the pattern. It just scares me a little bit because they're not neat. Like a neat cast on edge, cable cast on, backwards loop cast on, or just like regular whatever long tail cast on that's just like an actual starting edge of the piece is so easy to pick stitches up because you can go straight through 2 V's or straight through anything. It's really obvious to see where the stitches are, to like how many you need to pick up, and to do it in a straight line and to make it look really neat. But sometimes with the like side neckline stitches, I'm like, I don't know if I should twist the cast on stitch so that there is no hole, or if I should just go down one to avoid a hole. Like, how can I make it look as neat as possible? That is a struggle sometimes. So yeah, but I always make it look fine, and blocking generally fixes everything. I think the key is to just put like locking stitch markers on either side of those cast on neck stitches, kind of the shaped neck stitches, so that you can make sure that you pick up the same number on either side of the back of the neck and the front of the neck. I would do that with a V-neck too. It's just easier to make sure that it's going to be even. Yeah, so that's my tip. And I have yet a third thing that I cast on. Cast on is maybe a bold term, because I didn't actually cast either of these things on. A bold term. My brain is going crazy this week. It's just I didn't actually cast either of those 2 things on over the weekend, because the pressed flowers I had cast on the knitted or the ribbed edge like a week or 2 ago, and then the Fiola I've been working on periodically for the last few months, just kind of intermittently, just as a vanilla project. I'm just getting started on the sleeve because I finished the body on Saturday, and then I soaked it overnight, let it dry outside on Sunday because it was beautiful weather. Just draped it over the back of a lawn chair because it was so lightweight it wasn't going to get weighed down, and stretched out of shape, which was nice. And then I started knitting the sleeve yesterday. So I cast on another thing on Saturday though, because I went on like an 8-mile run. I don't usually do this, but it was really nice. I sometimes run with a club called A Tribe Called Run, which I love. A friend of mine introduced me to this club because she runs with them, and I started going this summer. And I don't usually go to their Monday night runs because I don't like to run in the evenings because then my cortisol is too high before bed, but I really like to run with them when I can. And they do a Saturday long run, which I really like. You'll meet at the same place, which is the art museum steps, and then the people who organize the club, they organize a route from the art museum that's like, one is 5 miles. They're all like a loop or an out and back. And so the first one is 5 miles. The second one is 8 miles. And the third one is 10 miles. So you can pick, and they drop the route like with the Footpath app, which is a running planning app, like a mapping app. So they'll drop the route in the group chat that we have, like the WhatsApp chat. And then people just decide. They come on Saturday morning and everybody goes like for the first couple miles together. The routes always are the same for like as much as possible because we're called the Wolfpack Saturday. And then like the 5 milers will branch off. Eventually 8 milers to 10 miles will branch off as well. And I haven't gone to Wolfpack Saturday very much because of marathon training. My long runs are almost always more than 10 miles. And I've thought about like running to the art museum and running home again, you know, after whatever number of miles I want to do to get to my total. But I don't really like doing that either. So I think next training cycle, I would be more likely to like drive to the art museum like an hour before, or maybe a little bit more than an hour, depending on how long my run is and what time they start. Do like an hour by myself to get the extra miles in, and then run the next like the 10 miles or whatever with the rest of the folks. Because what I don't like doing is like running home after you finish the run with everyone, because everyone's like, the run is done, yay, and then you have to run home. So that sucks. But I did go to that on Saturday because I had an 8-mile run because I'm in taper. And Nitin also had to do 8 miles for his taper for the half marathon in Philly this weekend. So we went to Wolfpack Saturday. Yeah, it was nice. Definitely a hilly route. It's always a hilly route because they start kind of like up in Remington, which is like north of where I live by a few miles, like 3.5 miles up north near Hopkins campus. And it's like on a hill. So you have to start and finish on hills basically. And I don't always run hills, although I try to on the weekends. But anyway, long story long, I ran 8 miles with Wolfpack on Saturday and didn't. And then I had most of the rest of the day to rest, which was great. And I purposefully did not plan anything else that day because of taper. I'm really trying to rest. So I, as a treat, once I had done all my other knitting things, I had cast on the Svensson sweater by Jared Flood, which is a Brooklyn Tweed pattern. Jared Flood is the like executive director of Brooklyn Tweed. Okay, I think he was the founder. So the Svensson sweater is a cabled pullover knitted in pieces. So there's like a moss stitch edge here. There are these like herringbone style cables surrounding the antler cable. And then the antler cables are nice because you only have to cable once every 12 or 10. It's once every 10 rows. I always say rounds, but these are knit flat. And then this is a honeycomb cable, which is almost like partially a mock cable. It's actually really easy because these are closed with purl stitches and not more cables, which is kind of nice. So this I think will look nice when it's really nice when it's blocked, but I'm really enjoying it. And again, everything knit flat in pieces takes less time than everything than things in the round. And so I have often sort of like turned away from knitting things flat because then you have to seam it later. But the nice thing about it, you gotta admit, it takes less long to knit the body pieces. And so this is the back, and I'm not making tons of progress on it, but like it does grow a lot. It goes twice as fast as it would if I were knitting it in the round. So, and the seams are going to give it structure. And this is a shaped piece, so as you can see, obviously the ribbing is pulling in here, but this is, I've only done like one increase, but it does kind of go out. So anyway, this will be knitting the second size. And I am quite confident that it will be fine because it is a shaped piece. So I am going to add about 1 inch in increases for the bust. And once it's blocked and stuff, I think it's going to fit no problem. I'm using a yarn that Monica gave me a couple years ago for my birthday. She gave me a really whole sweater quantity of this. Where is it? I know it's in here. I can find it. Oh, it's in a bag. Wow. So organized. I never took it out of the bag. This is called the Croft Shetland Colors. It's a West Yorkshire spinner yarn, but they actually source the yarn from Jamieson and Smith. It's DK weight yarn. It is 100% Shetland from Shetland. So that's how you know it's Jamieson and Smith. I mean, you don't know that, but it is. It is 246 yards per 100 grams. That's this. This yarn, this is the, oh, let's see if I can find a colorway on here. It is colorway Maywick, if you are looking for it. I love this color, and I don't have anything. I don't have any sweaters in this color. So Monica's very like cognizant about those things, and she thinks about what people don't have in their lives to kind of like, you know, she's thoughtful about, like, she's like, well, you should expand your wardrobe and put something in this color into your wardrobe. So yeah, I am actually using a cable needle for most of this. I did a lot of the herringbone cables without at first, but even those ones I was getting a little frustrated because this has like 4 plies. Just so sometimes if I don't use the cable needle, the plies get split. And then you have to kind of like pick up individual plies, and you're like holding on to it with your finger because you're trying to cable without a needle. The antler cables were almost impossible to do without a cable needle. So oh my gosh, it took me like 15 minutes to find a cable needle in this house. I found one finally downstairs in the like side table of the couch that has come all, like, that cable needle has not been taken out of that side table since we moved from the old house, because I used to sit in my big Barca lounger downstairs in the old house in the living room, because I didn't have internet access in my room. Like, the Wi-Fi didn't reach into my room, so I would sit there all the time and like watch TV on my laptop or on the TV where I had internet signal, and knit in that chair. And so there are still a lot of knitting items in the side table, which I think belongs to Jordan. But anyway, this is sort of, like I said, you know, you can knit on more than one thing every day if you kind of want to have your list, as long as you have your priorities in order. And so I know right now that pressed flowers is my priority, which means I've already done my 10 rows today. Haven't done anything on this today, but I have been managing to get through, you know, probably like 8-ish rows of this a day. I really like to be able to sit down and get through 8, well, at least 4 rows at a time, but ideally 8, because that's the full honeycomb chart. And because Brooklyn tweed patterns are complicated, and I'm actually trying to follow this, although there's a few things. Like, this is supposed to be a half twisted rib. I just did a regular rib. I thought about doing a twisted rib, but then I was like, I did the half twisted rib. It didn't look good. I was like, I don't want it to not look good. And the plain ribbing looked just fine. So I was like, I'm just going to do that. And it, like I said, it's a complicated pattern. So I'm actually taking notes. Got so that I can replicate it on the front, like ribbing 24 rows, did the setup, did the 20 rows, working on the bust increases. The pink ones are increased rows. Yeah, I feel accomplished for keeping all my life in order, keeping my pens and my notes all together in the bag with the skein and the cable needle tucked in there. I even have my ribbing needle in there on hand for when I need to cast on the front. Again, I plan to take this home on my trip for Thanksgiving. So I will be going home next week. After the marathon, I will be going, marathon's on Sunday. I'm gonna go to Boston on Monday on the train. I've probably said this already, but in case you care. People here seem to. I'm really impressed with that. I'm going to Boston on Monday on the train, and then I'm driving back up to Vermont with my 3 high school best friends. Actually, I don't know how many of them are going. They all live in Boston, but I think they're actually maybe all going to go together, which is mysterious to me because one of them, her parents don't live in Burlington anymore. She goes like out to the Northeast Kingdom for Thanksgiving when she goes to Vermont for Thanksgiving, because they moved, or they sold their house in Burlington and now they have a place out there. So I don't know if we're all going together or if I'm just gonna go with Ivy, but hopefully, yeah, I would love to have Ivy on next week because she just finished a really nice pair of colorwork socks. She's a really good knitter. So we'll see if the schedule works out. I'm sure you'll see my mom next week because she's been knitting a lot and she's probably really excited to share her projects. But yeah, I will be bringing home all 3 of those sweater projects. Since I'm taking a train and then a car, I'll be able, and then I'm taking a Southwest flight back here. Southwest, you can check bags for free. So I'm actually going to bring my big suitcase. Hopefully not super full because then it's heavy. But I will be have, you know, Christmas presents to bring home for my Canadian relatives because my mom drives up to Quebec, crosses the border, and mails Canadian packages that way because it is cheaper than mailing them from here. So yeah, we'll be taking all that stuff home. I actually need to pack tonight. It feels really early to me to pack because it's Tuesday, but we're leaving on Friday for Philly. And tomorrow I have to go to work all day as usual because it's Wednesday. And tomorrow I'm having my birthday party here in the evening. So I will be really busy, and friends will probably stay until like a normal evening time, like 10 p.m., which is way past my bedtime. So I will need to go to bed immediately. Thursday, which is my birthday, I'm turning 31. I might get some packing done in the morning, but I would really like to bake something. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to bake for my students or not because they're doing presentations in my class on Thursday. And I wanted to bring something to choir, but honestly, I don't know if that's actually feasible. But I have to start carb loading on like Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So I will maybe bake like pretzels or something, like soft pretzels to just like eat throughout the day the next couple of days, just because I have to eat so many carbs. So might not have a ton of time on Thursday to pack. And I just like, it's one of those things where, you know, the more things that are just like happening around life, the more I like wake up in the middle of the night and think about it this week, because of the marathon and stuff. I'm just like, I'm on edge, and I am not as, you know, bodily exhausted as I usually am because I'm not running as much. And so I'm trying to like do as much as I can to kind of prep for all of those things. Like I really want to make sure that like my marathon clothes are packed tonight. Well, they won't be packed tonight because I did my dress rehearsal run this morning, which I ran like 2 miles, and then I ran like easy. Then I ran 2 miles at marathon pace, and then I did like a cool down a few miles. But I wore the outfit I'm planning to wear for the marathon and my shoes. So actually then I had to wash it. So all my running clothes are like hang to dry. You wash them and then you have to hang them up because the spandex and the materials are, they don't do well in the dryer. They're like shortens the lifespan of the clothes, especially the spandex. So they have to like hang to dry until Thursday anyway. But I think I'm gonna just bring my suitcase up here. I cleaned up my studio on Saturday. This is one thing I did because I had all this time. Like I swept, I mopped. Actually, I don't think I mopped, but I swept and I vacuumed. So it's pretty clean, thinking that like all these people are coming over on Wednesday and some of them are fiber friends and they're going to want to see the studio. And so I should clean it up. And I'm like, wow, if I just keep going at this rate, it's going to be messy again by tomorrow night. So I should, yeah, but I could bring a suitcase up here and start to pack and just close it up and put it away tomorrow night if people want to come see the space. So yeah, I think that's all. And I have to go do some stuff now. So thank you so much for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Standing with Emma. Bye.